Hey guys, it's Steve from the Fat Life Project and welcome to my South Korea vlog where we are going to be doing some cafe hopping to check out some of the most stunning cafes that you've ever seen. It might come as a surprise as some people often think of places like the Bukchon Hanok Village and the Gyeongbokgung Palace when they think of South Korea, but Seoul actually has a super vibrant cafe scene. There's something for everyone from the bustling streets of Gangnam to the quiet corners of Ujiro. Each district boasts cafes as diverse as its city's inhabitants, which is why cafe hopping is a must-try activity when you're visiting Seoul. But a simple search for must-try cafes in Korea will bring up a huge number of cafes, enough to make you wonder which ones are worth going to, and also, is the food as good as it looks? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be showing you 6 famous cafes in Seoul that are, in my opinion, worth the hype. I'm going to be giving you directions on how to get there, a little preview of the cafe's decor, and also the must-try items on their menu. Subscribe for more fat travel recommendations and let's jump straight into it.
We're gonna be starting off strong with arguably the most famous cafe in Seoul. There are actually 3 Cafe Onion locations in Seoul: Cafe Onion Seongsu, Cafe Onion Mia, and Cafe Onion Anguk. But it is safe to say that the Anguk location is the most recognizable one. It is located near the Gyeongbokgung Palace, and if you're catching public transport, the closest station is Anguk Station, which is located on line 3. Once you're at Anguk, you want to locate exit 3, and Cafe Onion is a literal 3-minute walk away from that exit. And this is the first indication that this is a super popular cafe. If you only remember one thing from this video, and this applies for all the cafes mentioned in this video, is that I strongly recommend for you to get there super early and on a weekday wherein possible in order to avoid waiting in long queues to get in. On with the cafe though, the decor truly captures the charm of a Hanok, aka traditional Korean house. You will walk into a huge open space that resembles a Zen garden, and from there you want to head on into their main area where you will immediately be greeted by the amazing aromas of the baked goods and coffee. It is pretty hard to miss the baked goods as well, as they are all laid out on the long table in the middle of this space. I already knew from researching beforehand that their pandoro and these strawberry pastries are the must-tries, and so we are grabbing those. However, I also noticed that barely a few hours into opening that they were already refilling the chili sausage rolls and also these garlic cheese baguettes that resembled a blooming onion. And I mean, if that isn't an indication of their popularity, I don't know what is, and so I got them as well. And now it's time to try them out. You can bring your food out into the eating area. I'm not sure if it was all the hype that I came across before visiting, but I found the pandoro to be quite mid taste-wise, as was this chocolate croissant that I also got because of how pretty it looked. The famous strawberry pastry was not bad, but what I really enjoyed actually were the chili sausage roll and the garlic cheese baguette that really didn't skip on the garlic. It even had fried pieces of garlic on the top and was so good. Overall, I would say Cafe Onion is definitely worth going, especially if you're visiting Seoul for the first time. But let's now switch it up a little bit by taking you from a traditional Hanok style cafe to the most modern and unique cafe on this list. The Rain Report is a cafe in Yongsan-gu where it rains all year long unless the weather is so cold that it snows. The closest station is Nuksup-yeong Station, and it did take a fair bit of uphill walking to get to. You will then see more stairs, but then you'll find the entrance and be greeted by rain sounds as you're walking in. The interior is very minimalist, full of black and white colors with screens showing you the forecasted weather, which is of course rain, and also panels with rain graphics. You will find the main display of the cafe right in the center. It spans across the 2 levels of the cafe. It was Christmas time when I went, so the top levels alternated between snow and Christmas decorations. The bottom portion though shows a fireplace, and the seats around the fireplace is made for you to settle down with some food and a warm drink with a clear view of the outdoor area. The cafe usually rains perpetually in 15-minute intervals, but as I went in winter season, it was snowing outside. And guys, the food looks just as beautiful as the cafe itself. I had a hard time picking, but ended up settling for their mango tiramisu and their Mont Blanc. They were both so good, and by the way, you know you're in an Asian country when the desserts are truly hopefully not too sweet. I also saw quite a few of the other customers getting this sunrise drink, and so I did as well, and could you blame us? The drink was so pretty. I would even venture out to say that my overall experience here trumped Cafe Onion, and would definitely recommend you check this cafe out. This next cafe though was the only one out of my list where I had to line up, and line up I did for close to 40 minutes. It is located in Itaewon-dong, which resembles the very popular Bukchon Hanok village, as it also contains many Hanok infrastructures left from the olden days. Many of the venues here, including the Miltoast house cafe that we're headed to, is repurposed from Hanok. The result is a venue that uniquely blends the traditional Hanok styles with modern chic designs. But back to the subject of the cafe, I honestly wanted to walk away when I realized I had to queue because 1, I'm not a fan of queues, and 2, their bestseller is bread, and I was like, not lining up for bread. But the smells wafting from inside was intriguing, plus I noticed the queues were moving fairly quickly anyway, and so I decided to hang around, and you know what? I'm glad I did. Let me show you why. I got seated fairly quickly by the bar, which was great as I got to watch the staff preparing the food up close and personal. You are here for the steamed bread that they wrap up in some cloth and place into a steamer tray that is then placed over boiling water like so. What you end up getting is warm and fluffy bread that looks like this. I got the plain version and also this one that is stuffed with sweet potato. You are supposed to have it with this butter, and just as I'm starting to have second thoughts on whether or not I made the right decision to line up, the first bite of bread sold me. The butter was mixed with some honey, and the combination of that with the warm and fluffy bread was just heavenly. Who knew that something so simple would taste so good? I also had one of their coffees and honestly reckon this cafe is worth the waiting time. But have you guys ever had salted bread before? It's certainly something I've never heard of prior to my trip to Seoul, but it is all the rage here, and the Soha Salt Pond is the cafe that's best known for this unique pastry. It is located just around the corner from the Miltoast cafe that we covered earlier, and is very popular with locals and tourists alike. So much so that there is almost always a queue, although I think I got lucky and got a seat without having to queue. The bakery section of the cafe is a little hut located in the middle of some ponds with huge stacks of salt in it. The menu isn't too big, as you can see here. There's 14 pastries to choose from, and there's really only 2 shapes. You either get the salted buns or these kind of pyramid shaped looking pastries. I ended up getting the peanut cream salted bread and a chocolate salted pastry. If you're eating in, you are then asked to sit in the dining area, which resembles a very chic barn. But on to the food, starting with the peanut cream salted bread, which I already knew I was gonna love, as I love peanut butter, and also you cannot go wrong with that peanut butter, salt, and warm fluffy bread combo. The more unique pastry that I didn't know what to expect of was this oddly shaped pastry. I didn't know how to use a spoon to scoop it or how to tear it apart, so I just ended up splitting it in the middle and biting into the top bit. The top portion was like a thick chocolate ganache with some salt, and the pastry was also quite different from the salted bread I had earlier as well. It was more flaky, as you can see from the layers here. Whilst this cafe's decor is not as impressive as the other ones on this list, the food was sensational, and so I definitely recommend you check them out. Also located in the same area as Miltoast and the Soha Salt Pond cafes though, is probably my pick for the best cafe to visit in South Korea. You will have to walk on some stepping stones and cross some mini ponds and waterfalls to enter Gyeong-gu, a Hanok-themed cafe located in the middle of a bamboo forest. The sounds of waterfalls and decor with an almost 360-degree view filled with lush greenery is designed to encourage the visitors to sit down and relax, a stark contrast from the hustle and bustle happening right outside the cafe. You are here for one of their castella cakes, and whilst their strawberry one is the most well-known, I simply could not resist getting the matcha flavored one because I love matcha. Drinks-wise, the cashier recommended their creme brulee coffee, which I thought was rather unique, and so I got that as well. I then got seated at this long table complete with lush greenery in the middle and even a waterfall. But now on to the food. First off, can we just take a moment to appreciate how beautiful this matcha cake is? It looks like a garden complete with rocks, and I almost couldn't bear the idea of ruining it. The cake itself was also pretty good, the inner layers consisting of cream and even more matcha. The rocks, they're actually pieces of cake as well. The creme brulee coffee was also pretty good, although I'll probably get something else next time. Yes, I said next time because I really love the vibes at this spot and I'm definitely coming back. Highly recommend you check them out. There are two signs that you found this next cafe on the list. One is this croissant taped onto a wall in the middle of Gangnam, and two are the queues forming at the entrance even before their opening time. Nudake in Gangnam is the brainchild of popular eyewear brand Gentle Monster, a fact that is definitely reflected in their decor. From the font used for the store name to the giant croissants greeting you at the entrance, as well as the eccentric figurines decorating the second level of the cafe. The whole vibe makes you feel like you've just walked into an art gallery. Their pastries are also laid out like pieces of art. I mean, just look at this croissant sticks and their famous peak cake. Unfortunately, I went alone, and so there was no way I could finish a peak cake, and so I instead got their other bestseller, these oni croissants, which are a creative combination of an onigiri and croissant. This is the kimchi flavored one and was honestly pretty delicious. I also wanted something sweet, and this mango croissant tasted like a mango pancake on top of a croissant. Decor aside, the food was also pretty freaking good.
I went to way more than 6 cafes while I was in Seoul, and here are some of the other cafes that I feel were noteworthy.
Starting with However Yeonnam, a cafe that collaborated with paint company Sam Hwa. You're here for their Rainbow Castella cake, and do I need to tell you why? Enjoy the cake and a drink in one of their many multiple color themed rooms. Gyedong Cafe is also in Yeonnam and serves up some pretty darn good coffee. And finally, I also recommend Ugly Bakery, which is located in the Mangwon Market area. The Mangwon Market, by the way, is another spot I'd recommend you visit, but that's a video for another time. I tried out a few things here as this place was super hyped up online and really only liked their loaves. This chestnut and custard one was delicious. Also, there's very minimal seating here in the cafe, so you'd most probably have to do takeaway.
But I want to know, have you been to any of these cafes, and if so, what do you think? If you haven't been, which cafe would you want to check out first? I'm also headed back to Seoul later on this year and would love some cafe recommendations, so definitely drop your suggestions in the comment section. I also have plenty of other Korea content in my Korea playlist, which I've also linked at the end of this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more fat content just like this, and if you got to this point of the video, I want to thank you so much for your support. It really means everything. I do wish that you have a fantastic day ahead, or that you've already had a good day. As always, I will see you very soon in the next video.